Welcome back to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management online. You can find us at retire210.com. This is a show where we talk about retirement, introduce you to Jay and how he helps people plan for retirement and help them through retirement. And we probably should revisit why we call this Clear Skies Retirement. Jay, you're a pilot, and this is actually a very, very good time of the year to be up because it's clear, it's cool, it's nice. There's a lot of good things about flying in the fall, isn't it?
Flying in the fall, especially in Texas, in the southern part of Texas, winter flying, man, it's incredible. It's cool. The aircraft performs better in that cooler weather. You get up there, it's smooth as glass. I love it. I just came back from College Station a few weeks ago to go and visit some clients out there. And I came back and it was more in the summertime back then a few weeks ago. And it was still fun, but pretty bumpy. Yeah, those thunderstorms and stuff in the afternoon, they bubble up. That is for sure.
That's right. But I mean, there's so many correlations between you as a pilot of your plane and you as a pilot of your retirement and having a good co-pilot who's sitting there next to you and all of the checks and the balances and the things that you've got to go to ensure a good flight. But at the same time, there's always things that happen along the way, aren't there?
Yeah, it's always knowing where you currently are and what are your options at that point in time if something goes wrong. That's what it always is. From here in San Antonio out to College Station, like it's 45 minutes. Like it's not far, right? Like, so it's, it takes you 3-something hours to drive, or I can be there in 45 minutes in the plane, have lunch and be back before someone could arrive there driving, right? Fantastic. But even a short flight like that, you're watching your fuel management. You're saying, okay, if something happens right now, is there an airport I can glide to, or am I putting this thing down on a highway? Where are we? What options do we have at any moment? And knowing what your risk factors are. For me, this is any plane, I would argue, the most dangerous part is taking off, right? So you're taking off, and what are you trying to do? You're trying to build altitude, and you're trying to build altitude, well, because you're going to fly, so you want to be up higher, but altitude also equals time if something goes wrong, right? If I'm at 300 or 400 feet and I lose my engine, I mean, that thing's going down wherever it goes down, right? I don't have and quickly. I don't have time to make many decisions. I don't have many time to. If I'm at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 feet, I don't have to panic. Like I've got time. I've got 3, 4, 5 minutes to troubleshoot things, find somewhere good. So where should my attention be when I'm climbing out, when I'm taking off? I'm watching those throttles, making sure they don't vibrate their way backwards. I'm holding them forward so they're not moving. I'm watching the engine and making sure my oil temperature and my oil pressure are not rising, that everything's within normal parameters. And then once you get to a certain height, you don't stop, but a little bit of pressure's off. I've got options. And there are times in your retirement too that I feel they're more dangerous than others, right? There are times when there's things that are happening that you need to be paying attention and making the right decisions at that time because danger is more present at that moment than another.
There are so many things about going into retirement that make us worried and concerned and nervous. I get it because it's changed. Everything changes. You had a check from your employer. Now a check that you got to build yourself. Taxes were April 15th. Now taxes are capital gains and RMDs. My estate plan when I was a young dad was buy a term insurance policy. Now I got to have a will and a trust and all that. I mean, it's just changes. And that's what we're going to kind of talk through here today because there's a lot of people with a lot of advice. And if you go online and you try to do this yourself and you just write, I want to retire into Google, and a bunch of this kind of stuff is going to come up, these hard and fast rules of retirement. And there's an article that I found that says, here are 7 retirement rules that you could just throw in the trash, and there are things that we hear all the time. And the first one here is, Jay, the 4% rule. That was something that came to us in like the 90s when the market was going up. And they said, if the market's going up 7, 8%, you take 4% of your money, you're going to be great. You'll never run out of money. But unfortunately, the market doesn't always go up like that, does it?
Well, I'd be out of a job if it did. Right? So that's what it is. If someone could retire and just stick their $1 million in something that printed a 7% return like clockwork and never went down and, hey, I'm getting 70 grand off this, I got my Social Security. Oh, there's not much. Well, that's right. Okay. Even if you say I'm going to average 7% return in the markets, how do you get the 7? Well, it's because one year you're up 15 and then the next year down 5 or 6 or 7. And then it would be great if it was just a straight line up and to the right, but it's not.
It isn't. And that is one of the reasons that the 4% rule is one that they want to throw out the window. I look at it this way. If I had $1 million and they say take 4%, I can do that math in my head. That's $40,000 a year. But then all of a sudden, if the market goes down and now I've got $825,000, now I got to take 4% of that to get my $40,000. Oh, I guess it's more than 4%. Now my head is starting to spin. Can't I just look at you, Jay, and say, forget the percentages. I get $3,000 a month in Social Security. I need $7,000 a month to do what I want to do. Help me get $4,000 a month out of my investments. Isn't that a little easier?
And make sure I don't run out of money. That's the other element to it, right? Is make sure I don't run out of money. Yeah, but so going back to your 4% and kind of it was somewhat devised in a good period of economic growth and the markets going up as well. So let's just say 2000s, right? 2000, 2005, whatever.
Okay.
What wasn't happening at that time either is inflation was not really talked about.
Okay. Right? Yeah, we were down below 2%.
2005 and then fast forward 2008 until about 2022, inflation was almost nothing. And so anybody who did their planning and you said, well, I'll throw 4% in there and that gets me 40 grand off $1 million. And well, 40 grand's not buying you what 40 grand used to buy you, just even a couple of years ago. So if we're just using these simple static metrics, if someone says, hey, I'm kind of getting a rough idea, I'm going to look at the 4%. I know that's not gospel. I know it's not written in stone, but it's just kind of helping me get in the ballpark. All right, do it. Should you rely on it for the next multiple decades of your retirement? I would caution you on that.
Yeah, I think that at the end of every one of these sentences, we can say, okay, but not for everyone. All right, number 2 on the list here is everybody's afraid of running out of money. That's the number one fear of people going into retirement, planning for retirement, in retirement. So this rule says, spend as little as possible. Don't overdo it because you'll run out of money. Again, this is kind of the opposite of what you're trying to have people do. Enjoy your money. This is the time that you've saved for. Don't spend as little as possible.
What was the point of the last 40 years of work if I can't enjoy my retirement? That's the way I would be looking at it, right? Let's get to the root of that concern or suggestion or problem, however you want to look at it, right? The real root problem with that or concern is that people who take that approach of, I'm going to live off just my Social Security. And I've got $1 million in my 401k, but man, I don't want to risk running out of that money or using any of it. It makes me nervous. You're nervous because you don't have a plan. You're nervous because you don't know how much you can take without putting yourself at a risk. If you never tap into that $1 million, then yes, you will never run out of it. It was also useless because you never got to enjoy it as well, right? So you can avoid running out of the money if you never use it. Well, that's like having a Ferrari and putting it in the garage and saying, well, I don't want to risk anything happening to it, so I'll never drive it. Well, I don't get it. You can go and look at it in your garage. What, can you log on to your 401k or brokerage account and look at your $1 million? Well, you can do that as well and never use it. It's because you don't know how much you can use without risking running out of money. And probably, if that is the concern, there is also no strategy for how to invest it. I don't want to run out of money. I might need it, so I'll never use it. And I don't want to lose any of it because I don't really know how to invest it, so I'll stick it in a CD, and I won't even keep up with inflation. It's a vicious circle. All that comes back to having no plan.
You're listening to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. Online, find us at retireto.com. 210.com if it's time to talk about your retirement. And maybe you are looking at some of these rules for your retirement planning. And we're kind of playing Mythbuster, financial Mythbuster here today and talking about some of these rules. Let's run them past Jay and let's see what they look like for you. Here's our number. It's 210-985-6200, 210-985-6200. Okay, 4% rule out, spend as little as possible. Come on. And the next one is, I've heard this so many times, is the longer you wait for Social Security, the bigger the check. So make sure you wait until 70 before you claim Social Security. Hard and fast rule. Again, Jay, not for everybody.
If you do your Google search on when should I take Social Security, right? Almost everything, you Google, YouTube, whatever, almost everything will point towards wait to 70, wait to 70. That's how you get the most. That's how you get the most. You can read your Social Security statement and see how that you get the most is you wait to 70. I mean, that doesn't take any sort of intelligence or math to do. And they said, well, you live to 95 and, you've really done well. Well, good luck. Because there's not too many people living to 95. So if you do the math, depending on what you're comparing, right? You're comparing 62 to 70 or 67 to 62. There's all these different comparisons you can make, right? For most people, you find that the break-even point starts to coalesce somewhere around late 70s, early 80s, somewhere around there, all right? Well, I got some bad news for you as well. That's about what the life expectancy is. There's kind of a reason it starts to coalesce around that area, right? That's one thing, is the way you really win at the Social Security game or the pension game or whatever it is, well, then live forever. That's how you really stick it to them and get your money back, right?
Okay.
If that's the case, then yeah, you should wait to 70. Now, the problem is you don't know what the right decision was until you take your last breath.
Yeah.
That's when you know, oh, darn it, I really should have waited or I should have taken it early, okay? So the thing is, there isn't a correct answer to this. None of us know what the future holds for us. Very few of us are going to make it to late 80s, early 90s. It's just the reality of it. It's not pleasant to talk about, but that's what the truth is. That's one side of it, okay? This is something else to think about. This is the way I look at it. And I want to reiterate this for people that are hardcore. No, I'm not taking it till 70. You do you. You do whatever it is that you like. I am trying to shed light on other things to consider that never get talked about. That's all it is. We do talk about age 62, and I try and put myself in the shoes of clients as much as possible. And this is one way that I look at it. So if you're working still when you're over 62, that's a different conversation, right? This does not apply to you. There's restrictions, there's all that sort of stuff. But we're saying you're retired at this point, and you turn 62, and Social Security is whatever, $2,500, right? And I need $5,000 a month to live off. If I'm not taking my Social Security, that $2,500 has to come from somewhere. Mm-hmm. Right? It has to come from somewhere because that's what I need. I need my $5,000. So where's it going to come from? Well, it's going to come from my assets. It's going to come from my 401k or my other investable assets. Assets that I own and control. And this is the big thing for me. And if I do not get the benefit of, my loved ones can. Mm-hmm. I think about like my kids, right? To preserve a benefit that when I die, dies with me. That's the way I look at it, is do I preserve the benefit that the government essentially keeps, right? If I die unexpectedly or before I've received the full value of it, to deplete the assets that my family could take control of. That should be a real thinking point to me, is kind of, who's getting the most value out of the hard work that I've done?
We're going through 7 retirement rules that you probably all heard that you, according to this article, can just break these, throw these in the garbage. Oh, man, how many times have we talked about this? You need $1 million to retire. And we talked about this, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And that was, how many people actually have $1 million saved for retirement? And the number actually now is 3.2%. So does that mean 97% of people are miserable in retirement? No. There's a lot of people who have less than $1 million who are loving their retirement. I saw a figure the other day that 80% of people in retirement, their retirement is meeting or exceeding their expectations. And they're doing that on less than $1 million. So let's blow this one up too.
Who is that number for? Who is the person that they did the case study on that got to that number? Because what have we seen, Randy? We've seen 2 million, 3 million, and what did O'Leary say? 5 million?
5
was
million.
It him or was it Susie Orman? One of them.
Susie was 3 and Kevin was 5. Yeah, I think so.
Well, if only 3.2% of people have 1 million, how low is the number that have actually 5 million, right? Probably less than 1%, I'd imagine.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
And so what does that mean? 99% of us are destined to work for the rest of our lives and never retire? Well, let's take it down kind of step by step. Who is that $5 million portfolio that's required? Who is that for? Is it a CEO of some Fortune 100 company that's retired and has to support 3 ex-wives and a yacht and a private jet? Maybe that's who that was designed for. Mm-hmm. It wasn't designed for the average you and me. It just wasn't, right? This topic bothers me a lot because I know it concerns people a lot as well. Because frequently we have this conversation in the office and someone will say, hey, I know my portfolio is not huge, but is it kind of like what everybody else has? Am I high? Am I low? And all I say to them is, hey, look, this is what the important thing is. What you have is enough to make the retirement that you want work. That's what matters. Because the truth is that there are some people that they're going to retire very comfortably on $500,000. The style of their life, the debt load that they have, the things that they want to go and do in retirement, between Social Security and that, and maybe a pension, maybe not, they're going to be just fine. There are some people that the retirement that they want to live and the lifestyle that they're used to, well, guess what? The 5 million is not even going to be enough. Mm-hmm. If we have somebody who comes into the office and they say, yeah, we need $20,000 a month. I've had this conversation. I need $20,000 a month in retirement income. I'm just like, okay, well, you mean net? Yeah, exactly. You mean net, right? Oh yeah, of course. I mean net. Okay, well, I'm like, well, we're probably up in the high 20s now, gross, right? As far as the gross distribution before tax has to be. And usually my next thing is like, hey, tell me about this retirement you're going to live, because it sounds pretty good, right? I want where are you going? What are you doing? I'm kind of curious, right? And they have substantial assets. Maybe they've got 5 million between both spouses. I'm like, hey, guys, it's not going to be enough.
Wow.
Like you're talking about $240,000 a year, and that's got to increase over time for inflation so you can keep your lifestyle the same, right? And you're 60 years old, so we've got to plan this out for multiple decades. It's going to take a lot of money to do that, and you just don't have it. And 5 million is not going to be enough. So I talk about it probably more than I need to. Randy, you probably weren't expecting such a long-winded answer.
No, it's okay.
But it bothers me a lot because I know this bothers people a lot too, and it's something that's on their minds.
If you're in your 60s and you think you need a certain number to retire and you're grinding away out there just trying to get there, why don't you come in and let's see, maybe the number you're at right now is just fine and you could retire and, or you can go back to work, whatever you want to do. But imagine the attitude that you'll have knowing that you could walk away any day. I like that kind of an attitude. Give us a call. Give us a look at our website, retire210.com. Again, retire210.com or 210-985-6200. All right, next one on the list of retirement rules that you can break now is you must pay off your mortgage before you retire. I know a lot of people do that, and what they do is they make a big mistake tax-wise is they say, look at how big my 401k is. I've only got $75,000 or $80,000 left on my mortgage. I'm just going to take it out of my 401k, and now we have a tax problem. So, I mean, sometimes it makes psychological sense. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it makes financial sense. Sometimes it doesn't. How do you deal with that one?
Yeah, well, you could take this a step further. And, you got to have your mortgage paid off. Usually it's more you have to be debt-free. That's typically kind of the concept that comes up, right? So you can't have a car payment, you can't have a mortgage payment, you can't have any credit card debt, you can't be on the hook for any student loans you might have had for your kids. You've got to be debt-free. Well, a lot of people are not going to be retiring if you have to be debt-free. Does it help? It helps at all stages of life if you can be debt-free, but it's just not practical for most people. The thing we've got to manage around, and this is why I'm always banging on about you have to do the planning to get a true picture of what your finances are like. What we have to look at maybe it is necessary to have the mortgage paid off before you retire. It depends on your financial situation. What we look at is, hey, how long have we got left on this mortgage? And it's pretty rare that someone's just gone into a 30-year mortgage right before they retire. Mm-hmm. Like, it happens, but it's pretty uncommon, right? Most people that have the mortgage out there, they say, yeah, we're going to have it paid off in 8 years or 3 years or whatever it is, right? It's usually not going to be the rest of their retirement. And then we have to look at the fact of, do the assets support a budget that can include that payment? Whether it's a rent payment, it's a mortgage payment, whatever it is, it's a cash outlay. Can our budget afford it? And usually we've only got to be able to build it in for, like I said, 2, 3, 5, 8 years, whatever it is. I mean, eventually it'll be paid off typically, and then we can reduce our distributions as well. Let's talk a little bit about paying it off, all right? Now, if someone said, look, I've got 10 grand left on my mortgage, it's just going to make me feel great to get this paid off, and I'll take a distribution from my IRA or 401k. All right, it's 10 grand, man. All right, do it. Couple $100,000, we're talking a different story.
Right.
You're going to be in tax hell, essentially, for some time. I don't know if I've shared this story with you because it was so long ago. I just kind of thought about it right now. We had a lady come in. This has got to be at least 10 years ago. We had a lady come and see. She was referred to us by one of our existing clients. And she had set an appointment and then canceled it. And then a few months later said, I didn't know what was going on. And finally she comes in and she's like, oh, you know, I've been kind of avoiding coming to see you. I was like, oh, that's a nice way to start the conversation. And she's like, well, I'm embarrassed about what happened. I was like, okay, well, look, I've seen it all, right? Just like, tell me what's going on. She's like, well, I retired. I don't have $1 million in my 401k now, but I did when I retired. And me and my husband, our dream was to have a house down on the coast, the Gulf Coast here in Texas, right? Port Aransas. I was like, all right. And she's like, so, we found a house that we liked, and I had just been kind of managing my own investments, and she was her own financial advisor, essentially. And she paid cash, $500,000 cash for the beach house. And guess where it came from?
Her 401k. Ah!
401k. And to compound the problem, she retired in like September, October, and somewhere later in the year. So had a good amount of her income and didn't even break it into the next tax year. She stacked it. She did the distribution that same year that she retired. So now she's got, as far as the IRS is concerned, right? She's got $500,000 in income from 401k plus whatever she made for the year, 100 grand, plus whatever her husband made, 100 grand. So the IRS is looking at the fact that she made, I don't know, 750,000 that year. And she's like, yeah, I got really confused because the 401k told me that they were withholding taxes for me. Well, they just withhold the standard 20%. They don't know if that's enough or too much. Well, on $700,000 in income, that's not enough, right? So she said, we bought the house, we did our taxes, and I owed a ton of money in taxes because there was not enough that was withheld. So she had a tax bill of like 100 grand or something, some ridiculous amount. Well, she didn't have $100,000 in savings, so guess where the 100 grand had to come from? What was left in the 401k?
Again? Oh, no.
Well, she's got nowhere else to go, so she has to go back to that.
God.
And so I think it took her 2 full tax years, because then they withheld taxes for that, and then that didn't end up being enough, and it rolled to the next year, and she didn't have to take as much out. It was like 20 grand or something the year after that. So she said, I hate this house. Like, I've still got it, and I hate this house because every time I go there, I think of like the nightmare it created for me. And she said, now I don't know what she had left. She had barely a couple $100,000 left in her 401k. And I mean, what can I do for her? Like, the damage is done.
Sell the house.
And well, yeah, you can sell the house. I mean, that's really all you can do, right? And hope. Yeah. But this is the thing, is like, you're not going to get enough for the house to make up for the disaster that it caused, right? Yeah. You're going to get maybe a little bit more than what you paid for the house. You're not going to get an extra 20, 30% on top of it. And great example of, if she really wanted the house, would it have been wiser to finance it in some way? You know, who knows? I don't know what the right answer was. Or don't do it, right?
Or rent the house. Yeah, exactly.
Rent the house, whatever it is. But it's stuff like that you can make irreparable mistakes to your retirement.
It's so
That's
true.
an example.
There's a lot of rules out there about retirement that you can read about online. Not all of them are going to be right for you, and the only way to find something like that out is to sit down with Jay and go through the process, our 5-step process, Get Me to Retirement. Let's sit down and have a serious conversation about what you've done for retirement, what you want to do in retirement, what's coming in, what's going out. Is your money in the right place? Are you getting rewarded for it? There's a lot to talk about, and we'll do that meeting for you at no charge. Give us a call. Give us a look on our website, retire210.com, retire210.com, or call us, set a time, set a date. Let's get it on the calendar. 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. And remember to have this podcast delivered straight to your favorite podcast platform by hitting like, follow, or the subscribe button. Thanks again for listening to Clear Skies Retirement, and we'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jamin J. Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.